Welcome back to this bike building series. If you haven't already, check out the previous episodes. Today, I'm going to be putting the drivetrain on this surly troll here. Since I'm reusing parts, the first step is to get my old bike up on the stand and take the drivetrain off of that. So I've got my old bike up on the stand. First thing I'm going to do is pop the chain off. Then I'll be able to pull the crankset. Then I'll pop the wheel off so I can get to the cassette. And then last, we'll take off the rear and front derailleur. So there is a special tool for removing this master link here to take the chain off, but I don't have one of those. So instead, I'm going to be using an old bike spoke that I bent and cut, and then a piece of brake cable. I'm just going to hook this on the chain, and this will just relieve the tension from this point in the chain so that it doesn't go flying once I disconnect it. And then I'm going to take the brake cable, or shifter cable, doesn't really matter, and thread that through just like that, and then cross them on the bottom and pull. If you see there, it spread those apart. And then it'll come apart just like that. Now for this GXP crankset, all we need is an 8mm Allen wrench on the non-drive side. And that comes off, a couple taps, comes right out. There we go. I'll pull the wheel off so we can get to the cassette. Okay, so we're ready to pull the cassette off. Now here's where some specialty tools are going to come into play. So first, we have this bit here made by Park Tool, and that fits right in there so that you can loosen this top cog here. Now you'll notice if I pop that in there and I go lefty-loosey, the whole cassette spins with it. So we're going to need a way to stop the cassette from doing that. Now, this is called a chain whip that you can attach, put on here, and now you can see I can hold the cassette tight and turn that. Now, I think you can probably get away without having one of these. You might even be able to use the old chain somehow, or just find another way to hold this. I'm sure you can find something if you look up videos, but since I have one of these, I'm going to use that. And then last, you just need an adjustable wrench to attach onto that bit. You got that loosened. Once you have that loosened, take note of the order of everything. There we go, there's the cassette. Last thing is pull off the derailleurs here. I'm gonna loosen up cable. And then pop it off the hanger. Voila. And lastly, the front derailleur. Loosen up the cable. Pop that out. Okay, we've got all the parts here, so now I'm going to give them a good clean before I throw them on the troll. Alright, so I've got the old parts nice and shiny here now, and I've got the troll up on the stand, so we're ready to start putting some parts on here. So I mentioned that the GXP bottom bracket on the old bike was clicking, and I wanted to put a new one on here, so I got that. Now this is going to require its own specialty tool. Maybe there's a way to do it without one. I haven't really checked, but I just picked one of these up. This little guy fits on into these grooves here. And then that fits right on a ratchet here, so you can just crank it down. On the drive side is reverse threaded. Now I actually need to back the drive side out a little bit because I realized once this is in, That middle piece is blocking the non-drive side threads from me greasing them. All right, let's put the crankset in. I'll put some grease in the center here. I'm gonna push that through. Oh, yeah, this piece keeps coming off the other side. I think it's just a dust cap, so I think we're fine. I'm gonna take the other side here, grab our 8mm Allen wrench. And there we go. Crankset. Got our wheel here. Put the cassette on. Line all the grooves up. Put the rest of these on. If you haven't done this before, see there's one of these that's wider than the rest. And it goes the same on the free hub back there, so you have to line those up. The nice thing about putting this on is that you don't need a chain whip, because you're going in the direction where the cassette locks. Alright, things are looking pretty good here. Now we just gotta put a chain on. Alright, just kidding. Got a little ahead of myself. Gotta put the derailleurs on. The 5mm. Alright, got that on. We got our front derailleur. Now, I'm sure that's gonna take, oh, that's super high. Lower that a little. This is definitely gonna take some fine tuning once we have everything on, but I'll try and get it as close as I can for now. You can see where that is. You want this gap here to be pretty small. When they're new, they come with a sticker on it that actually helps you line it up. That looks good enough to get us started. Might have to mess with it later. All right, now we can put our chain on. All right, chain's threaded, so now I gotta size it and trim it. Now this setup is gonna look similar to when we were taking the old chain off. I'm gonna use this old spoke here again. Now, basically what I'm looking for here is, if you look back at the derailleur, see if I were to just connect the chain without trimming it, see back here, if I pedal, the chain would be rubbing on the derailleur back here. So that's one thing I'm looking for, is that it's not rubbing, and particularly that it's not rubbing when it's in all of the smallest gears. So in the back, that would be the high gear, and in the front, the low gear. Now, that's not something I'm ever gonna do to this bike because it's putting the chain in kind of this weird crossed position, being close in the front and far in the back. But I do want to make sure that I can run the chain through its full range of gears without having any issues. So it's not touching there when I put it on the smallest one now. Now I also want to check the biggest gears and make sure that it's not, you know, extended too far. The derailleur isn't extended too far. So I'll move the chain up in the front. The derailleur's kind of going to get in the way of this, but I'll do my best. All right, so with the derailleurs in the way, that kind of took a lot of bending and forcing to get it in this position, but you can see like this is pretty far extended getting it there. I think I'm gonna, even going one longer, like the chain is still going through all of the bends. So I think we're gonna go with that. All right, so I have to use another special tool here, is a chain breaker, in order to trim this to length. Now I'm looking to break it so that I'm left over with one of the skinny parts, not the wide part. So if I line this up, I'm gonna break it right where my left thumb is there. About to push the pin out. There we go. Okay, trimmed. All right, now we've got our missing link here. Got in one end, and the other. Now, once they're lined up, I'm going to pull this out, put some tension back on it. And then usually what I'll do, sometimes they'll just pull right into place. But what you can do, so I've moved it so the link is up top here. You can see that it's starting to go. But if you just kind of like smack on the pedal, the tension is on the top part of the chain rather than the bottom there. So if you just give the pedal a whack, it'll pull the chain apart and lock that into place. Next thing I'm going to do is adjust my limiter screws. All right, there we go. Got a working drivetrain. Thanks for watching. Join me next time where I'm going to turn this into a functional bike with some brakes and shifter.